aside from answering the same questions over and over and over again, good day for you so far?
Well, I wake up around 2:00 each day. I am a Rip Van Portnoy is people. I do all this stuff, a million things, a million albums, tours, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's always posting, when do you sleep? Believe me, I'm the greatest sleeper on earth. So yeah, I'm just waking up. I dealt with my emails and my social media and ready to jump in and talk with you.
Are you dialing in from Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I'm home right now. I'm out here in Pennsylvania.
Got it. More on that to follow. But the bottom line is third Winery Dogs album done, coming out very soon. When was it actually finished?
We actually finished it probably around fall of last year and held on to it and sat on it because we knew we couldn't tour until beginning in February. So we didn't want to release it last year when it was finished and then sit around for 6 months waiting. So we held on to it and got the tour dates together and then are releasing it based on that. So it's been done for a little while at this point. The other issue was Richie was out with his solo band in August and September. And then as soon as that ended, I was out with John Petrucci in October and November. So there was like a 4-month window where we had the record finished, but we had no new photos of the three of us because we couldn't get the three of us together between August and November. So we actually had to design all the artwork and the layout with old photos. And then as soon as my tour with John Petrucci ended, the three of us got together. We were able to take pictures, do the music videos, and then get the artwork. And that's why we haven't even had a CD or vinyl pre-sale link yet, because everything is kind of running at the last minute because we had to wait to get together and actually get new photos before we could plug everything in and start running.
Wow. Okay. So is 3 a working title that stuck, or did you know from the beginning that the album should be called 3?
It came naturally. I can't remember who suggested it, but it just seemed like the natural title. Obviously it's the third album, so I guess that's a real easy way to go, but it just seemed to work for us because there's 3 of us. We're a trio. You think of the name of our record company is 3 Dog Records. It has been from the beginning. So there was just always this thing with the number 3 with us. So really the title came pretty quick and naturally. The big decision was, how do we spell it? Is it going to be the number 3, the Roman numeral 3, or spelt THREE? We ended up going with the Roman numeral because it looks like 3 dog scratches. Either that or 3 lines of Coke, depending on the way you look at it.
But it's not technically your third album because there's been other releases, a fantastic live album that was recorded in Chile. So at this point in time, your band has been around for more than 10 years. And when it first started, people are throwing around, hey, it's an all-star band. And all-star bands are generally not around for a third studio album, to say the least. When did you kind of realize that this was a real band and not just a one-off?
We knew we didn't want it to be a one-off. When we formed it, we had intentions of becoming a quote-unquote real band. It's just that all the journalists and the fans and the critics are skeptical whenever they see these kind of quote-unquote supergroups. Right. So I think the true test is when these supergroups make it to a third album, because anybody could come together on paper and make their first record, and it either works or it doesn't. If it doesn't work, then that's where it ends. If it does work, then usually you go right into a second record to see if lightning could strike twice. So really, the true test is if you make it to a third record. And here we are. But we did take a bit of a hiatus between 2 and 3 because we did the first 2 back to back to back to back, album tour without much of a breather. So I think, between those 2 cycles, after that, we really wanted to take a breath, do all the other things the 3 of us have with our other bands and projects, and, just let the Winery Dogs catch its breath for a little while. So in 2019, we got together to do some shows in the summer just for the fun of it, no new product or album to promote. And that's when we kind of reignited the flame and knew that, okay, it's time to make a third record as well.
It's incredible to me that when you play live, that you only play Winery Dog songs and people are psyched about that. And I say that because when I listen to the Chile live album, you really do get everything that you'd want from you, Richie, and Billy. And by that, I mean, you get Richie's soulful vocals that sometimes border on Chris Cornell territory in a wonderful way. You get the prog stuff and the shredding, but you get songs. It's a real band. So you mentioned before that originally there was skepticism from journalists and people who were fans of your other projects. But did you know from the beginning that this is a real band and we don't have to tread on any of our, quote, former or current projects?
Well, we kind of had to on the first tour. Now we're at a point where with 3 albums, we could just do all of our own stuff and that's it. But any of the bands I've done, you know, the new bands I've put together through the years, when you're on your first tour, you kind of have to lean on some covers or some stuff from your other bands, you know. So the first Winery Dogs, we had to play, we did one of Richie's solo songs. We did a Mr. Big song. I think we did a Poison song and some covers, Fooled Around and Fell in Love. It was the same with me with Flying Colors and Adrenaline Mob and, you know, a few of these other bands, Sons of Apollo. When you only have one album, you kind of need to pad out the set with other stuff. But now it's great with the Winery Dogs with 3 albums. It's nothing but our own material. And the set list for this upcoming tour is just like boom, boom, boom. Every song is like just a favorite, you know. It's like you hear the opening chords of I'm No Angel. Oh, that's great. You hear it beginning of Captain Love. Great. Desire, Oblivion, you know, it's like classics. It feels like a set list filled with classic tunes. And it's nice to finally be at that point.
With this album being done for about a year now, is there a 4th album that even being thought of, or
No.
is it a 1 album at a time thing?
Oh, definitely 1 at a time. Yeah. I mean, you know, we're staying focused on this right now. Who the hell knows where the world is even going to be by next year? So, you know, we just take it 1 album and tour at a time.
Yeah. You mentioned other projects like Flying Colors and all that. Do you know other stuff that's coming out in 2023?
Well, the 3 of us are very focused on the Winery Dogs right now. Pretty much we carved out 2023 to be the year of the dog for all 3 of us. So we have other things in the pipeline. I know Richie's got, you know, he's still working with Adrian Smith, and Billy has some shows with Mr. Big that's been talked about maybe later in the year. So we have a few things. I have a few things in the pipeline from the past that are still coming out. Like, for instance, even today, new Neil Morse Band live package from Morse Fest 2020 just came out today. I have a live transatlantic package coming out next month. And Flying Colors is already on the calendar for 2024 on Cruise to the Edge. So, you know, we all have different things that are either already in the pipeline or things that are going to come out maybe next year. But really, 2023 for all 3 of us is really focused all on the Winery Dogs. We have a very long year's worth of touring scheduled. You know, we already have about 50 shows already announced, and there's probably another 50 still to come.
At what point in your career did you realize that you didn't need major label deals to subsist? Because we're talking about a series of cottage industries that have all panned out really, really well in your case.
Well, this new Winery Dogs album is actually the first time I've ever worked without a label, to be honest, because everything else I do, most of them are with Inside Out music, Sons of Apollo, Transatlantic, Liquid Tension, the stuff I do with Neil Morse, that's all an Inside Out. And Winery Dogs' first 2 albums even were with Loud and Proud, who have since folded.
Yeah.
So we are finding ourselves in a situation in 2023 where you really need labels less and less. And this new album is my personal first experience working without a label. I think Richie's done his solo albums this way and suggested maybe we do the Winery Dogs one this way. So, you know, I guess that's kind of where we're at. You don't really need a label to get your music out there. As long as you have a distributor and a publicist, you know, you could do the artwork yourself or with people you work with. And you know, it's all about social media these days. Most of the labels are relying on us, the artists, to promote their records these days. You know, I've seen that happen with labels. I've seen it happen with concert promoters. They're relying on the artist's social media to get the word out more than they're doing it themselves. So I think that's kind of where we're going. And, you know, it's kind of refreshing, to be honest. You know, it puts a little more pressure on us to be doing a lot of the legwork, but it also, we reap the benefits from it. You know, we're no longer at the mercy of a label. You know, when I was starting out with Dream Theater in the 80s and 90s, you couldn't do anything unless you had a record deal. You know, you couldn't go into a recording studio and make a record and get a video out unless you had a record company. But times have changed so much since then. Now, you know, as long as you have a YouTube account or Instagram account, you know, you could put your own music onto Spotify or iTunes or whatever. You kind of, you can have total control over your music, which is a good thing, I guess.
I think you're being very modest, because while you're saying that you're with a label on all those things, those labels would go, hey, by the way, we need a bio, we need your photos, we need the ISRC codes, et cetera. So it was still an in-house contained kind of thing that it was up to you to deliver all those things, even if you were distributing.
Right. I mean, all those years working with labels, I'm still, you know, in all of my bands, overseeing the artwork and the promotion and the interviews. And, you know, you're still very hands-on, but not everybody is like me. There are a lot of bands, a lot of musicians that kind of need their hands held and spoon-fed. So, I mean, luckily, I've always been very OCD, very on top of it, very in control, but not every artist is.
There you go. Before I ask stuff about locale and geography, Next to None, what's going on with that band?
Next to None's been done for about 5 years now. They started out when Max was still a teenager and put out a couple of really cool albums for what they were doing, which was a little more prog and a little more metal. But they kind of disbanded about 2017, about 5 years ago. So Max has been killing it, though. He is in two very, very successful, popular bands now. He's got his band, Tala, which he formed and put together, and he writes all the music and does everything for that. But since then, he's also joined the band Code Orange, who were very, very popular and successful. So he's now playing drums for them as well. So he's doing double duty between Code Orange and Tala, and playing much bigger gigs than I am. You know, he just went out and did 2 tours with Code Orange, you know, 1 tour playing sheds and amphitheaters with Slipknot. Then he did an arena tour with Korn. And you know, he's just killing it. He's really doing great. I couldn't be prouder of him.
The way that you see the Apices doing the drum clinics together, could we see the Portnoy Boys do that kind of a thing?
The Port Boys.
The Port Boys.
No, we're in very different worlds now. You know, Max is full on Tala and Code Orange. He's busier than I am at this point. He relocated to Pittsburgh to, you know, once he started playing with Code Orange, so he could be there with them. And between you know, working with them and touring with Tala and writing all the Tala stuff, he's busy. I'm busy. We're both kind of doing our own things at this point. Yeah, I don't think he doesn't need me, and I can't keep up with him. So there you go.
I bet you're proud, and that's also wonderful to hear. Well, I'm dialing in from your former hometown of Long Beach, Long Island, New York.
Oh wow, where? What street, can I ask?
Shore Road.
Oh, okay, so you're right on the beach.
You know your stuff.
I lived on Farrell Street, on East Penn Street, East Walnut Street, West Fulton Street. Through the years, I lived in Long Beach for, you know, my first 30 years.
I recently noticed because our town every now and then goes, we need money, and they sell off bricks, which you can personalize. I recently noticed a happy 40th birthday Mike.
Yeah, there. I can't believe you saw that. Yeah, that was something some family members got for me for my 40th birthday. So even though you could take Mike Portnoy out of Long Beach, Mike Portnoy will always have Long Beach in him.
Well, I'm curious about all that, because so many wonderful artists, yourself included, have come from here, yet the town has never really been about putting people on the map and promoting it. So for example, when MF Doom had passed, they dedicated a street to him, but the politicians went, honestly, we didn't know he was from here. And a similar kind of deal happened with Lil Peep being from here, et cetera, et cetera. When you were growing up in Long Beach, was there anyone or anything of note related to the arts besides Billy Crystal being from here?
Well, Billy Crystal was the biggest one. In fact, I met him recently, and I said, hey, man, nice to meet you. I'm the second most famous person from Long Beach. Because, yeah, of course, Billy Crystal is. You know, and he even famously wrote a whole story about his childhood in Long Beach and everything. So yeah, Billy Crystal was the famous one when I was there. And a few years before me came Rick Rubin as well. Rick Rubin graduated Long Beach High School a few years before me. So he's a famous one from there. Joan Jett was living in Long Beach for a while. So she was another one.
Mike Francesa, I think, has roots here.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the Beastie Boys filmed one of their videos in Long Beach. So did Public Enemy. So yeah, there's Long Beach sand in all of our shoes.
Were there gigs to play around here when you were growing up?
No. My stepfather owned a rock club in Long Beach back in the 60s and 70s called Leone's. Right across from where the train station is, there's a Burger King. Right next to Gino's, a few stores away from Gino's. That Burger King was where my dad's club Leone's was back in the late 60s and 70s. And I was just a kid at the time, but he, actually weird. I'm wearing a Vanilla Fudge shirt by coincidence, but yeah, it was a rock club where like Vanilla Fudge would play, and Keith Emerson's The Nice would play there, and all these like late 60s, early 70s rock bands, so yeah, but that closed in the 70s. So there was really nothing in Long Beach. We would go over the bridge to Island Park to Speaks. And Speaks is where I used to go see Twisted Sister when I was a teenager. And they would, I'd see them playing there in the early 80s and stuff. And I mean, there were a lot of great Long Island bands. You had Twisted Sister and Zebra and all that, but none of them were playing Long Beach. You'd have to go to, to Speaks or to Sundance and Bayshore, or, the Right Track Inn, or what was the one in Deer Park? I can't remember, the Stage Door. So yeah, but nothing in Long Beach in my childhood.
The key is you made it out.
I made it out, yeah.
And then
I had to go to Brooklyn. Like when Dream Theater was starting, we had to, go to Brooklyn to play L'Amour's and stuff like that. But that was the mid 80s at that point.
Well, the last Long Island question I have is, obviously you played Jones Beach a bunch of times. Did you ever play the Coliseum, or otherwise, what was the biggest gig you played on the island?
It would be Jones Beach. I mean, I played Jones Beach Theater, I think 7 times with Dream Theater. Just to play there once would have been enough. I mean, the first time we played Jones Beach, we were the opening band, and we were touring with Deep Purple and ELP, and it was in '98. And that was like the biggest dream come true. To be playing Jones Beach was insane. And then we ended up playing there every summer from then on, I think for the next 7 years or so, which was amazing. But yeah, that was always the biggest Long Island gig. We never got to play the Coliseum, which is a shame. And that would have been a dream come true. I mean, so many of my childhood concerts were at the Nassau Coliseum. I saw Kiss there in '79 with Judas Priest opening, and saw, everybody from, I saw Paul McCartney and Wings there in '76. Everything from Ozzy and Twisted Sister and Motley Crue and Metallica. And, I'd seen pretty much everybody at the Coliseum through the years, but never got to play there.
One day. Well, that feeds into the last question that I have for you, which is an outsider's perspective here. I think of the million-selling albums that you've been part of, the arena and shed tours, big stuff. But is there anything that you're still hoping to accomplish that you're one day hoping will come your way?
I mean, there's always little benchmarks, little goals, little things you want to achieve. I still haven't played the Royal Albert Hall in London, where I've always wanted to play. But other than Royal Albert Hall and Nassau Coliseum, which you mentioned, I've played pretty much every venue I could ever want to play. I played Madison Square Garden and Red Rocks and, the Budokan and Wembley Arena. So, there's these little benchmarks, these little places you always want to play, or maybe little other people you'd want to play with. It's always a dream to maybe play with Paul McCartney or Roger Waters or Pete Townsend, these guys that are my heroes. So sure, there's these little dream things that are benchmarks. But honestly, if you look at the big picture and the broad picture, I could not be more fulfilled with what I've done. All the music I've made with all the different bands and great musicians I've played with, all the awards. I've won 30 Modern Drummer Awards at this point. I've been on the cover of the magazine like 4 or 5 times. Like, I honestly, it's all way beyond my wildest dreams. Like I said, to have played Jones Beach like 6 or 7 times or whatever it was. I mean, just to have played there once would have been, a bucket list moment. So yeah, I honestly couldn't be more fulfilled with all of the amazing things that have happened, throughout this career.
And you get to wake up at 2 o'clock every day.
Yeah. But mind you, I don't go to bed till about 4 or 5 a.m. So it's not like I'm sleeping 15 hours.
Fair. Well, Mike, thank you for the many years of great music, and looking forward to whatever is next, whether it's Winery Dogs 4, whether it's Flying Colors, whatever it is. Thank you, and looking forward.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Paltrocast.